Hey everybody, this is Maxine Taylor with another edition of Astrology 201. I hope you've been enjoying these shows and I hope that you've got it. Now, let's talk about Pluto. I love Pluto. Pluto is the planet of frozen fire. It is the most powerful, I think, the most powerful planet in the chart because it rules transformation. It rules death and rebirth, both literal and symbolic. Wherever Pluto is in your birth chart, if you've been following along on Astrology 101, you know that Pluto rules control, and wherever Pluto is in our chart is where we're fearful of change, and so we try and control. And if we will let go of the need to be in control and simply take charge and realize that when change comes along, it is all or nothing, that's Pluto, we then rise like the phoenix on its own ashes. We rise up as a new person. Wherever Pluto is in your birth chart is what I just talked about. Now, let's talk about where Pluto is in the transiting planets as it's going round and round the zodiac. I'm going to once again start with Pluto in the 12th. Now, I have to mention this. Pluto it takes 248 years for Pluto to return to its natal place in your chart. So when I say that wherever Pluto is sitting in your chart and as it moves forward, it is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. When Uranus, we did this last time, Uranus returns to its natal place in your chart, you're 84, and that's you totally liberated, totally busting loose from everything that you want to. With Pluto, enjoy it while it lasts, okay? So, Pluto in the 12th house of behind-the-scenes activities and subconscious activity triggers your subconscious mind enormously. It can bring old memories to the surface, but since it's the 12th house, it's hard to grab hold of them, all right? Keep that in mind. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes control going on, either toward you or from you. But if you will take the power of Pluto and use it to transform everything, your subconscious mind, the things that you're doing privately, it will liberate you. Now, as Pluto moves up to your ascendant, remember the ascendant is you. It is your physical appearance. It is your personality. It is the most personal area of the chart itself. You are preparing to totally transform. I remember many years ago, I had Pluto cross my ascendant, and I remember telling my friends, it feels like I'm undergoing a symbolic death, and it feels wonderful. So it's not a physical death, but it's a total transformation in you. Your appearance changes, your attitude changes, and you may find that you want to have more control over you than you had before. My suggestion is to allow Pluto to help you to transform you totally. And so that's Pluto in the first house where it will stay for several years. Now, as Pluto moves into your second house of money, your values undergo a total transformation, don't they? If you have Pluto there now, you know what I'm talking about. There's a desire to control your money, your income, but there's also the opportunity to totally change it and be liberated from it and to therefore create more of it. You know, when you're hanging on to something, it doesn't have a chance to breathe or to grow. When you let it go and release it to the universe, to God, to spirit, to source energy, that's when it comes to you. So with Pluto there, your values are undergoing a big change. I love it. Pluto in the third house, your ideas undergo a major transformation. And what you used to think will totally undergo a change. Remember, it's going to be there for several years, okay? And you just want to be aware of it. Currently, when we are recording these shows, Pluto has been in Capricorn for several years. And next time I'm going to show you the chart of somebody who's been experiencing, somebody very well known, who's been experiencing Pluto in her first house. In your third house, everything you thought before is undergoing a change, and you may be trying to hang on to it for fear of letting go. As Pluto crosses the very foundation of your chart, the cusp of the fourth house, what you'll find is that the very foundation of your life changes. Your family structure can undergo a total transformation. You can move, of course. Now, Pluto's going to be in these houses for a long time, so it's not something that happens overnight. But you'll find that the structure of your life, your security needs, the fourth house parent, your relationship with your family members, that is what is undergoing a transformation. So if you've had a terrible time growing up, you may find that it's a lot easier. And you may find that you simply want liberation. That's okay too. Pluto in the fifth house. Wow. The fifth house is fun and games. And so if you have been very rigid in how you've enjoyed yourself, you're talking about total transformation. Pluto is the planet of all or nothing. So if you're going to have fun, you're going to give it everything you've got. Your children may undergo a change, a total transformation, because the fifth house does rule children. So everything you thought was fun, everything you were enjoying in life, and the people that you've had fun with can undergo a change. If you're single and dating, you may find that you're looking for a totally new type of person for a long period of time. Okay, Pluto in the sixth house. This is very interesting. Sixth house is work. You are going to want to be in control of your work, but you may feel urgings to leave the job that you have. Remember, the sixth house is the job, the 10th house is the career, and we'll get to that in a minute. But with Pluto in your sixth house, your job can undergo a total transformation, and prior to that, or maybe even during that, you're going to want to be in control of all the projects that you are involved in. Makes sense, doesn't it? And my suggestion, once again, is that you relinquish control and take charge. When you come from control, when Pluto rules you, and you come from control, the control controls you. And when you're coming from control, you're coming from fear. And that's the fear of letting go, the feeling of, well, it's life or death. Pluto is life or death, and that's why it's all or nothing. So with Pluto in your sixth house, you're ready to make changes in your health as well. This can be very transformational and very exciting. Okay. Pluto in your seventh house. Wow. The people in your life that you are closest to, totally transformed. First, though, you may find that they control you more and more. And as a result, you want to control them. Remember, it's all mutual. It's balanced in astrology. The people you're closest to will want to control you. Now, if in your birth chart you have an indication that other people are very, very important to you, you may find that you allow them to control you. This can be somewhat debilitating. And at some point, while Pluto is in your seventh house, you're going to rebel. You're going to bust loose. And you're going to say, listen, this isn't working. I have to take charge. You may not like it, but this is how it's going to be. And this can be the moment of total liberation. I don't like to use the word death because it sounds like a physical death, and it's not. Pluto is not necessarily physical death. It's the death of the old and the birth of the new. That's what Pluto's power is about. Now, Pluto in the eighth house is extremely powerful because that's the house it normally rules in the natural zodiac. And with Pluto in the eighth house, you are all or nothing about power, control. You are looking beneath the surface at what is really going on. You are a mega psychic detective. The astral plane, the psychic realm, that's the eighth house. Also, mundanely, It deals with other people's money. And so if you've been involved in a relationship, a financial relationship with other people, there can be a big change in the financial structure because you feel controlled or you feel out of control. That's more like it. So with Pluto in the 8th, we're talking about transformation of money, secrets, everything hidden. Pluto in the 9th house, your whole philosophy of life undergoes a transformation. What you thought was important, what you believed in, totally transforms. And part of your new belief may involve control. Okay? Very interesting. Pluto in the 10th house. Wow. You give a very powerful, controlling public image. People respect you. They may fear you, but you are in command in your career. And your career can undergo a total transformation during the years that Pluto transits moves through that 10th house of career. There can be a big change in your relationship with one of the authority figures in your life. In fact, with all authority figures. I'm not just talking about your parents. I'm talking about all authority figures because you're ready to be one. Pluto in the 11th house. Your friends change. Your hopes and wishes change. The 11th house is hopes and wishes. And so if you have been very quiet in groups, if you have not been a group type person, this is the time when you may find that you are. You may also find if you've been involved with groups that you want to change the groups you're dealing with, totally transform them. You'll find that groups may tend to control you, and this is not comfortable to you. So what you're going to do is try to be in control, and you see that that's not working, and you take charge and allow Pluto's transformational energy to take hold. Now, after this little break, we're going to come back, and I'm going to talk to you about my favorite forecasting tool. Well, one of my favorites, eclipses. Eclipses are awesome. They are what I call they're called the cosmic 2x4. And I'm going to explain how they function in your chart, what they trigger. And then, as I promised, we'll have 2 charts of very well-known people. And I'll show you how I'm able to predict, how I'm able to forecast their charts. I'm able to do yours as well. So if you're interested, just go to my website, MaxineTaylor.com. Select the reading that you like, and we'll do it. Hey everybody, we're back. And now we're going to talk about one of the things that I love most about astrology, and that is the eclipses. Now let me explain about eclipses. We have them several times a year. I say several. Some years we don't have them several, but usually we have them about, 2 to 3 times a year, and they occur in pairs. So you've got 6 eclipses going on. Whenever we have an eclipse, things happen. Now, the planets do not make you do anything. They don't cause you to do anything. They reflect what's going on in your chart. So when I say an eclipse triggers something, please know that that's in quotes, okay? We feel the effects of an eclipse about a week before it occurs, and for our purposes, we feel it until the next pair come along. Now, there is a belief in astrology that the path of a visible eclipse lasts as many years as the eclipse lasts hours for a solar eclipse, and for the moon, months. I'm not even going to go there. We're going to keep it very practical and logical for our purposes. So, we feel the eclipse about a week before it occurs. We feel it till the next pair of eclipses come along, but they are really at their peak 3 to 4 months after they occur. Now, all of this information is available either online or in a book called An Ephemeris, which lists the planetary positions for every day of a given year. It's just easier for me to give you your printout and let you look at it. So, whenever we have an eclipse, the area of life where it falls in your chart is where it is activated. And by the time I'm finished with eclipses, you should be very familiar with the houses. You should be very familiar with the planets. And So now we're dealing with something a little new, eclipses. If you have an eclipse in your first house, this is you doing your thing. This is your time to do what you want, when you want, how you want, because you want. This is you acting independently. Now, there may be planets in that first house. There may be planets up in your 10th house that the eclipse also triggers. Those of you who study astrology notice I have not gone into the other aspects. In fact, I've barely touched on conjunctions simply because the location of the activity is the biggest area. Now, if you have an eclipse on your ascendant, I've got to tell you, it's a new life for you. I don't mean you have to die and come back. It's not a new chapter. It's a new book for you. It is so exciting. Yes, your appearance will change. Yes, your personality will probably undergo a transformation, but it's so much more than that. It's you saying, I've got to do it my way. And this is when you clean out your closets, you give Goodwill all of your clothes because you're ready to do your thing your way. Traditionally, eclipses occur in pairs, meaning if you have a first house eclipse, the second in the pair of eclipses is probably going to be in your 7th house. What this means is that other people call the shots for you, don't they? So eclipses will fall in your 1st and 7th house over a long period of time, several months, maybe several years, until the next pair of eclipses come along. So if you have first house eclipses, this is you saying, I'm doing it my way, followed by a 7th house eclipse where your spouse or your business partner or just other people who are important to you say, no, 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 no. We're doing it my way. And so there's going to be either a tug of war or a balance going on between the two. If you are involved, as is one of my clients, in a relationship that never seems to end, they've broken up, they've got back together again. It's this come together, break up. They simply cannot get one another out of their lives. And when you do that, there's kind of a game that is played, isn't there? It's a push-pull that goes on. Now, in relationships, this doesn't have to be a push-pull. In fact, if you have 7th house eclipses and you're single, there's a very good chance that you're going to attract to you someone who wants to marry you and who you want to marry. In business, same thing. But in the situation of my client, she is going back and forth in a relationship. So because these eclipses take, she'll have 1st and 7th house eclipses for the next year. This means that the relationship that is this push-pull will probably go on for another year unresolved. Now you might be saying, well, couldn't she find somebody new? Well, she actually has found someone new. And so has the other person involved. But they keep coming back together. I know you understand what I'm saying because many of you have been in that relationship. It's a karmic relationship. You can't get away from it. You can't get out of it. At some point, you do. And that point is when you've said, I've had enough up to here. And then lo and behold, the planets reflect that. Okay, let's say you have an eclipse in your 2nd house. This is fabulous because it triggers your money, your values. Does it mean you're going to win the lottery? I do not know. But I would look at your chart very carefully and let you know. Does it mean you're going to create more money? More than likely. Your values are triggered. You get more things, especially if it's around your birthday. You get things, you get gifts. So the possessions, money, and values are all triggered. But financially, there should be more money for you. Now, if you have an 8th house eclipse, the 8th house, as we know, is a very psychic house. It's a very transformational house. An 8th house eclipse means that other people may want your money, or you may be involved in mutual financial arrangements, a business with somebody. It also triggers you being the psychic detective and looking beneath the surface at what is really going on. And because we're talking about symbolic death and rebirth, if you've been involved in a business partnership, it could die, let it go, and then resurrect itself, because the 8th house is the house of resurrection. So if you're involved with an 8th house, if you have an 8th house eclipse and you're involved with somebody, financially, it's an all or nothing deal. Eclipse in the 3rd house, very interesting. This is you talking and thinking and communicating and writing that book that you've talked about doing forever and ever and ever. I love the way that looks. And you have a 9th house eclipse. And I found that the 3rd house, which is the conscious mind, and the 9th house, which is the higher mind, when they're triggered, there's lots of thinking, not necessarily a lot of doing, but a lot of thinking, a lot of rethinking, a lot of boredom with the 3rd house eclipse. Get bored really easily, want to be on the move, want to do it yesterday. And the 9th house eclipse says, I'm looking at my philosophy of life. You can go back to school, you can take higher education, you can get a higher degree when you have a 9th house eclipse. So the 9th house deals with the big picture, the philosophy, the principle. The 3rd house deals with communicating it. Isn't that interesting? So it's all communication, 3rd and 9th house. Okay. Now, 4th and 10th house. Very, very interesting. If you have a 4th house eclipse, you want to stay home more during the months that that's in effect. Home, family, real estate, all security issues come up, all domestic issues come up. This is the time that you're spending with a realtor, maybe getting ready to buy a new house or renovating your current house. This is the time that one of your parents may need more attention, or when your family requires more attention, or that you're thinking of starting a family. In other words, all domestic and family issues are triggered with a 4th house eclipse. What is it going to be in your life? That depends on what your birth chart shows and what you have created in your current situation. 10th house eclipse, very, very powerful. This is great for the career person. This puts you in the public eye. This allows you to move forward in your career. Now, you might say, well, isn't that going to be great for a politician if they have an eclipse close to the time of the elections? It could be great for them. I do political forecasts just before the election when we know who the candidates are, because 10th house activity in the birth chart does not necessarily mean a victory in the election. I use a special kind of chart, so when we have an election, check with me just before the election. But if you have a 10th house eclipse, move to the top. Move upward in your career. Do not take a back seat to anyone. You won't be able to. There's a promotion for you. There's you climbing the ladder of success. That's what 10th house means. And so 4th house, one of the parents. 10th house, perhaps another one of the parents. You might say, well, my parents are no longer living. That's okay. 4th house is family. 10th house is your public image, your role as a leader. Okay. 5th house eclipses. I love them. And obviously my handwriting still needs help. Okay, if you have a 5th house eclipse, you are ready to play. You're ready to have fun. You cannot stay home. You've got to be with your friends. You've got to be socializing. And let me give you a heads up here. If you have children, they're going to insist on your attention. They're going to come to your attention. If you've been trying to have children, this is a very good indication. It says, yes, the focus is on children. Does it mean you're going to conceive? I don't know, but you got a very good chance at that point. If you've taken up a sport, let's say you've been a couch potato your whole life, and you have decided to take up a sport and you're loving it, 5th house eclipse can indicate great success at it. Also, this is if you have never painted in your life, because the fifth house, of course, is all kinds of creative talent, and this is you taking an art course and truly loving it. Okay? Love it. Now, 11th house. Well, the fifth house is your fun. It's social life. The 11th house, of course, is group activities. And you might say, well, isn't that part of my social life? Groups? It can be, but it can also be business groups, because the 11th house deals with friends and your hopes and wishes, dealing with humanity. It deals with groups. An 11th house eclipse is going to trigger the humanitarian in you. The 11th house deals with other people's children, as in stepchildren. And so if you have stepchildren, you're going to be spending more time with them. Also, it helps your humanitarian side, as I've mentioned before, because the 11th house deals with other people's children. Who are other people's children? The entire world. Everyone is someone else's child. And this is why you will be such a humanitarian when your 11th house is triggered. Okay. Eclipse in the 6th house of work, health, and service. Well, yes, your job is definitely triggered, and you can help create a better health picture for yourself. And a 12th house eclipse says, go away, world. I don't want to talk to you. I just want to dream a little dream. And so that's the way eclipses work in our forecast. The next time we get together, as promised, I'm going to do the charts of two very, very well-known people. And I'm going to give you insight into what's going on in their lives over the next couple of years. So join me next time. Till then, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours.